Can I ask you something personal? Have you ever lain down at night, closed your eyes, slept for 7 or even 8 hours, but woken up in the morning feeling like your brain never truly rested? Many of my patients over 60 tell me the same thing. They believe it's just old age. But the truth is, your brain may not be resting the way it should. Research published in Communications Biology shows that caffeine, even a simple cup of coffee late in the day, can keep your brain in a state of chaos throughout the night. Instead of calming down, it acts like an orchestra with no conductor. Too many instruments, too much noise, and no harmony. Why does this matter? Because poor sleep doesn't just mean feeling tired. It means weaker memory. It means slower recovery in your muscles. It means a higher risk of Alzheimer's disease, stroke, or losing independence. The New York Times recently reported that nearly 1/3 of Americans over 65 struggle with sleep quality, and that's directly tied to how the brain ages. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to walk with you. Over the next 30 minutes, I'll share the truth about caffeine and sleep, how it silently attacks your brain, and more importantly, what you can do to protect yourself starting tonight. If you've ever felt this hidden exhaustion, please type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. I want to hear your story. And if you care about protecting your brain, please subscribe and ring the bell so we don't lose touch. Number 1, caffeine and the secret life of the brain during sleep. When you lie down at night, your body expects your brain to slowly dim the lights inside. Neurons should begin to rest, electrical activity should quiet, and the rhythm of sleep should carry you into deep restoration. But if caffeine is still in your system, that natural rhythm is disrupted. Caffeine blocks a chemical called adenosine, which is the brain's natural signal to rest. Normally, adenosine builds up throughout the day. By the time night comes, it acts like a gentle hand guiding the brain toward calmness. But when caffeine occupies those receptors, the message never arrives. The brain stays active, restless, and unable to enter the deeper stages of sleep. Scientists from the University of Montreal, reporting in Communications Biology, describe this as a state of criticality. Imagine an orchestra where the violins keep playing loudly, even when the conductor has asked for silence. Instead of harmony, you get noise. That is exactly what happens in the brain when caffeine is still present at bedtime. What does this mean for older adults? It means that even if you fall asleep, your brain is not truly resting. Instead of delta waves, the slow, deep rhythms that restore memory and heal muscle tissue, you get more beta activity, the fast rhythms linked to alertness. The result is shallow sleep that looks fine on the clock but leaves you waking up tired, forgetful, or unsteady on your feet. I have seen this countless times in my 30 years of practice. A patient will say, "Doctor, I sleep 7 hours, but I feel drained in the morning." When I ask about coffee, they admit to having a cup after dinner or in the late afternoon. The body may seem to tolerate it, but the brain does not forget. Night after night, the cost builds up. And here's the truth that matters most. Poor brain rest not only affects memory, it also slows recovery in your muscles, makes balance harder, and increases the risk of falls. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that 1 out of every 4 Americans over the age of 65 falls each year. Sleep disruption, caused in part by late caffeine, is a hidden contributor. So let me ask you this. Have you noticed yourself waking up after a full night, but still feeling like your brain never really shut down? If so, share your story in the comments. Your experience may help another viewer realize they are not alone. And remember, protecting your brain before it needs saving begins with something as simple as when you drink your last cup of coffee. Number 2, delta waves and beta waves. The battle for deep sleep. Inside your brain, sleep is not one uniform state. It is a cycle of rhythms, each wave pattern carrying its own purpose. Delta waves are the slow, powerful waves that dominate deep sleep. They are the builders and repairers, restoring memory, healing muscle fibers, and calming the nervous system. Beta waves, on the other hand, are the fast, active rhythms of wakefulness. They are useful during the day when you need to think clearly and respond quickly. But at night, they become an intruder. When caffeine lingers in the bloodstream, it tips the balance. Studies using electroencephalogram, or EEG monitoring, reveal that caffeine reduces delta activity and increases beta activity during non-REM sleep. That means less time in the stages where your brain consolidates memory and your body repairs tissue, and more time in a state that looks like you are awake even though your eyes are closed. Think about it this way. Delta waves are like a construction crew that comes in at night to fix the roads, patch the cracks, and make sure the city is ready for morning traffic. Beta waves are like daytime rush hour traffic. If caffeine keeps beta waves running at night, the repair crews cannot get their work done. The result is a brain and body that never fully recover. For older adults, this disruption carries real consequences. Without enough delta sleep, memories from the day may not be stored properly. New names, conversations, or even where you put your glasses can slip away more easily. Muscles may feel weaker because the overnight repair never finishes its job. Over time, this increases vulnerability to sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass that steals independence. I recall a patient who kept a detailed journal of his sleep. He believed he was resting well, but the entries showed otherwise. After drinking 2 cups of coffee in the afternoon, he woke up multiple times at night and felt groggy the next morning. When he cut back and limited coffee to the morning only, his journal quickly reflected more solid nights, fewer awakenings, and a clearer memory during the day. The National Institute on Aging reminds us that deep sleep is essential for healthy aging. Missing out on it, even if you think you slept long enough, leaves the brain vulnerable to decline. So let me ask you directly, have you noticed nights when you sleep the hours but not the depth, when your body feels heavy and your mind foggy? Share in the comments. Your voice can help others see that this is not just getting older. It is a signal from your brain asking for real rest. Number 3, why younger adults suffer more and why seniors should not ignore it. When scientists compared how caffeine affects people of different ages, they found something surprising. Adults between the ages of 20 and 27 experienced the most dramatic disruption in their sleep. Their brains stayed in that restless, chaotic state for much longer than older adults. The reason lies in a chemical messenger called adenosine. In younger people, adenosine receptors are plentiful and highly sensitive. Caffeine blocks those receptors very effectively, which means the brain cannot get the signal to calm down. As a result, their delta waves drop sharply, and their REM sleep, the dreaming stage, becomes shallow and fragmented. This explains why many college students or young workers who drink coffee late at night feel exhausted and foggy the next day, even if they spend 8 hours in bed. For people over 60, the picture looks different. Adenosine receptors naturally decline with age, which makes caffeine less effective at producing that strong kick. Many seniors tell me, "Doctor, coffee doesn't affect me anymore. I can drink it at dinner and sleep fine." That may feel true, but it is misleading. The absence of jitteriness does not mean the brain is unharmed. Caffeine may not keep you awake, but it still steals from the depth and quality of your sleep. In my practice, I often see older adults who believe their sleep problems are simply due to aging. Yet when they stop drinking coffee after lunch, their nights improve. They wake with clearer heads, steadier balance, and less morning fatigue. What looked like an unavoidable part of aging was in fact a hidden effect of caffeine. The Washington Post highlighted this difference, noting that while younger adults clearly show stronger short-term disruption, older adults face subtler but longer-lasting consequences. Poor sleep quality accelerates cognitive decline, weakens muscles, and increases the risk of falls. Remember, falls are not minor accidents. They are the leading cause of injury and loss of independence in older Americans. So even if caffeine feels weaker as you age, do not mistake that for safety. The hidden damage is still there, chipping away at your brain's ability to recover at night. Think of it like rust on a bridge. You may not see it until the structure weakens, but by then the damage has been building for years. Have you ever told yourself that coffee doesn't touch you anymore? If so, I encourage you to reflect. Does your morning fog, your forgotten keys, or your aching legs tell a different story? Leave your thoughts in the comments because your journey may open another person's eyes to the truth. Number 4, when sleep weakens, both memory, and muscles suffer. Sleep is not just about rest. It is a time when your brain and your body work quietly behind the scenes to repair, recharge, and prepare you for tomorrow. When caffeine interferes with this process, the cost is much greater than a little morning grogginess. The damage reaches both memory and muscles, the two foundations of independence in later life. During deep sleep, your brain sorts through the experiences of the day. New information is moved from short-term storage into long-term memory. Without this step, conversations blur, directions are forgotten, and daily tasks feel harder. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have shown that deep non-REM sleep is essential for keeping memories sharp as we age. Without it, the risk of cognitive decline rises sharply. But memory is only half the story. Your muscles also depend on deep sleep for recovery. Each night, tiny tears in muscle fibers are repaired, and new proteins are built. When delta waves are reduced by caffeine, that repair work stalls. Over time, this contributes to sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that makes it harder to climb stairs, carry groceries, or simply stand up from a chair. The National Institute on Aging warns that sarcopenia affects up to 1/3 of adults over the age of 60. Without enough restorative sleep, the problem only accelerates. In my 30 years of practice, I have seen patients whose sleep habits made the difference between independence and frailty. One woman in her 70s came to me complaining that her legs felt weak every morning. She blamed arthritis. But when we reviewed her daily habits, I discovered she drank strong coffee around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. After cutting back and moving her last cup to breakfast time, her morning strength improved within weeks. Now let me pause here and talk directly to you. Have you noticed mornings when your legs feel heavy or your memory seems slower than the day before? Do you ever connect that feeling with what you drank the night before? Please share your story in the comments. Was there a time when you cut back on coffee and noticed a difference in your sleep or strength? Your experience could be the encouragement someone else needs today. Remember, this is not about giving up joy or living without coffee forever. It is about timing, awareness, and choosing habits that let your brain and your muscles heal at night. Protecting your brain before it needs saving begins with these simple but powerful choices. Number 5, caffeine cognitive decline in the aging brain. When we talk about caffeine and sleep, it is easy to think only about feeling tired the next morning. But the real danger goes deeper. Poor sleep caused by caffeine weakens the brain's ability to process and protect itself. Over the years, that disruption can add up to something far more serious: cognitive decline. During the night, your brain clears away waste products that build up during the day. One of those waste products is beta amyloid, a sticky protein linked to Alzheimer's disease. Studies from the National Institutes of Health have shown that deep sleep is when the brain's cleaning system, called the glymphatic system, works at its best. If caffeine prevents you from reaching deep sleep, those harmful proteins may remain, slowly accumulating in brain tissue. This is not just theory. The Wall Street Journal reported that older adults who consistently sleep less than 6 hours a night face a much higher risk of developing dementia. Even if the clock shows you were in bed long enough, shallow caffeine-affected sleep can have the same effect. It is not about the hours in bed, but the quality of the rest your brain receives. In my clinic, I have seen patients who first came in complaining of forgetfulness, losing words, misplacing bills, repeating stories. Many of them had long habits of drinking coffee late in the day. When they changed this single routine, their clarity improved. It did not cure aging, but it slowed the decline and gave them back a sense of control. That is powerful. Caffeine's reach extends beyond memory. It can affect mood, making you more irritable, more anxious, and less resilient. For an aging brain already fighting the natural changes of time, these added burdens create a heavier load than many realize. Over time, that load can make everyday life feel harder, heavier, and less joyful. So let me ask you, do you notice times when your memory feels sharper after nights of good sleep? Have you experienced the fog that lingers after restless nights? I invite you to share those moments in the comments. Your story is not just your own. It is part of a larger truth that others need to hear. Remember, protecting your brain is not about grand medical treatments. It often begins with small decisions, like choosing when to have your last cup of coffee. Your brain is asking for rest. Give it that gift, and you will be giving yourself a better chance at living long, living well, and staying independent. Number 6, the common mistakes seniors make with coffee and sleep. One of the biggest surprises I hear in my office is how many older adults believe caffeine no longer affects them. They say, "Doctor, I can drink a cup at dinner and still fall asleep." That may be true for the act of falling asleep, but it misses the hidden reality. Sleeping is not the same as resting. The first mistake is thinking that because you fall asleep easily, caffeine has no effect. In truth, caffeine reshapes the architecture of sleep. You may close your eyes, but your brain is kept in lighter stages, where it cannot fully restore memory or repair muscle tissue. Over time, this shallow rest feels like a quiet thief, stealing sharpness and strength without you noticing. The second mistake is using coffee to fight afternoon fatigue. I understand why it happens. Energy dips after lunch, and a cup of coffee seems like a quick solution. But in older adults, that late cup often lingers in the body much longer. The liver processes caffeine more slowly with age, which means what you drink at 3 or 4 p.m. can still be active at midnight. Instead of solving the fatigue, it sets the stage for another restless night. The third mistake is believing that less sensitivity to caffeine means safety. Many seniors say they no longer feel the jitters, so they assume the brain is unaffected. But studies show that even when the buzz fades, caffeine still reduces delta waves, the foundation of deep sleep. This is damage you cannot always feel until the consequences, like memory loss or muscle weakness, become obvious. I once had a patient in his late 60s who swore coffee no longer touched him, yet he was waking up stiff and foggy every morning. When he agreed to stop drinking after noon, within 2 weeks his mornings felt lighter and his memory sharper. His body had been trying to tell him all along. So let me ask you directly, do you rely on an afternoon cup of coffee to push through the day? Do you tell yourself it doesn't matter because you fall asleep anyway? Share your experience in the comments. Others may see themselves in your story. Breaking these habits does not mean giving up coffee completely. It means respecting your body's rhythm and allowing your brain the rest it needs. Protect your brain, for it needs saving, starting with the way you time your cup. Number 7, the right way to time your coffee. Coffee itself is not the enemy. For many of us, it is part of the morning ritual, a source of comfort, and even a social connection. The real problem lies in timing. When caffeine is consumed too late in the day, it lingers in the bloodstream, quietly interfering with the very sleep your brain depends on. Caffeine has what doctors call a half-life of about 6 to 8 hours. That means if you drink a cup at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, half of that caffeine can still be active in your system at 8 or 10 at night. And remember, as the body ages, the liver processes caffeine more slowly, which means it lasts even longer in seniors than in younger adults. For this reason, I recommend that most older adults set a cutoff point no later than early afternoon. Ideally, enjoy your last cup before noon. That gives your body enough time to clear most of the stimulant before bedtime. Patients who make this change often tell me they notice a difference within days: deeper sleep, clearer mornings, and even steadier balance when they stand up. There are also ways to adjust without giving up coffee entirely. Some people do well by switching their afternoon cup to a half-caffeinated or decaf option. Others replace it with herbal tea or simply a glass of water, which often refreshes more than expected. Remember, afternoon fatigue can also be a sign of dehydration, not just low energy. One patient of mine in his 70s used to drink strong coffee at 4 p.m. to stay awake for evening television. Once he shifted that habit to a morning cup only, he began to sleep more deeply. Within weeks, his wife noticed he was less irritable in the evenings, and he himself admitted his memory felt sharper. The change was not dramatic overnight, but it was steady and real. So let me ask you, when do you usually drink your last cup of coffee? Have you ever experimented with moving it earlier in the day? Share your story in the comments. You might discover that your experience encourages someone else to try the same. Timing coffee well is not about denial. It is about respecting the wisdom of your body and protecting the brain's most natural form of healing: restful, restorative sleep. Number 8, the caffeine reset. A simple experiment for better sleep. Sometimes the best way to understand what caffeine is doing to your body is to step away from it for a short time. I call this the caffeine reset. It is not forever, and it is not about giving up the pleasures of coffee completely. It is a gentle experiment, a way to listen to your body with fresh ears. The idea is simple. For 3 to 5 days, stop caffeine entirely. No coffee, no tea with caffeine, no sodas, and no energy drinks. For many, this first step feels challenging. Headaches, irritability, and fatigue may appear. That is not weakness. That is your body adjusting. It is proof of how much caffeine had been shaping your daily rhythm. What happens next is often surprising. By the third or fourth night, many people begin to notice deeper sleep. They wake up feeling more refreshed, even if they slept the same number of hours. Dreams may become clearer, mornings less foggy, and energy steadier throughout the day. One of my patients described it as taking a heavy blanket off my brain. I often suggest keeping a small notebook during this reset. Each morning, write down how you slept, how alert you feel, and how strong your body feels when you first stand up. This record becomes a mirror, showing you in black and white how your body responds without caffeine. For many, the difference is undeniable. And here's the key point. You do not have to give up caffeine forever. After the reset, many people return to coffee, but with new awareness. They learn to keep it in the morning only. Some find they enjoy half calf or decaf just as much in the afternoon. Others discover they do not need it at all. The goal is not restriction, but wisdom. So let me ask you, have you ever tried a caffeine reset, even for a few days? What did you notice in your sleep or your energy? If you have not, would you be willing to try and share your experience with us here? Your story may encourage someone else to take the same small step. Remember, protecting your brain before it needs saving does not always begin in a clinic or with a prescription. Sometimes it starts with the simple choice of what you put in your cup. Number 9. Lessons from my 30 years as a neurologist. Over 3 decades of caring for older adults, I have seen one truth repeated again and again. The smallest daily habits often make the biggest difference in protecting the brain. Medications and treatments matter, yes, but nothing replaces the healing power of quality sleep. And caffeine, especially when taken at the wrong time, has quietly robbed many of my patients of that gift. I remember one gentleman in his early 70s. He had been sharp and independent all his life, but he came to me worried about forgetfulness and weakness in his legs. His first words were, "Doctor, I guess this is just age catching up with me." But after we reviewed his habits, I noticed he drank coffee at dinner almost every night. I asked him to stop just that one habit. Within a month, his memory improved and his balance was steadier. He laughed and said, "I thought I needed the coffee to keep going, but I actually needed sleep." Another patient, a retired teacher, kept falling asleep during the day and feared early dementia. She insisted she was sleeping 8 hours every night, but her wearable sleep tracker told a different story. Frequent awakenings and shallow sleep. She had not realized that her 2 afternoon cappuccinos were still active in her system at bedtime. When she cut them out, her nights deepened and her daytime clarity returned. These stories remind me of something important. Aging is not only about decline. It is about learning to listen more carefully to the body's signals. Every choice, when to eat, when to move, when to rest, becomes part of how well we live. Caffeine is not evil. It is simply a tool that must be used wisely. Now I want to turn this lesson to you. Have you noticed changes in your memory or your energy that you once blamed on age but later discovered were tied to a habit? Perhaps coffee, late-night television, or skipped meals. Share your reflections in the comments. Your words could become the encouragement that another viewer desperately needs. The longer I practice medicine, the more I believe this. Protecting the brain before it needs saving is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. And sometimes that protection begins with nothing more than honoring the wisdom of sleep. Number 10, protecting your brain is protecting your life. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want to bring the message full circle. Coffee itself is not the enemy. In fact, I enjoy a cup in the morning myself. The real issue is timing and awareness. When caffeine slips too far into the day, it robs the brain of the rest it needs most. That loss does not just affect how you feel in the morning. It shapes your memory, your balance, and even your independence. Think of your brain as the command center of your entire life. It organizes your thoughts, your movements, and your emotions. When sleep is shallow, that command center weakens. But when sleep is deep and restorative, The brain rebuilds itself night after night. And the beauty is, you have the power to influence that outcome with the choices you make every day. I want you to feel encouraged. Change is possible at any age. I have seen patients in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s turn their health around simply by protecting their sleep. They did not need expensive treatments or complicated plans. They just needed to respect the rhythm of their bodies. That means setting caffeine aside early in the day, honoring the need for deep sleep, and allowing the brain to heal itself. If you are listening today and thinking, it might be too late for me, let me reassure you, it is never too late. Every night of better rest strengthens your brain. Every choice you make to protect your sleep is a step toward clearer memory, stronger muscles, and greater independence. Now I want to hear from you. After watching and reflecting, what is one change you feel inspired to make tonight? Will you move your last cup of coffee to the morning? Will you try a short caffeine reset? Or simply keep a journal of how you feel after different nights? Share your story in the comments. Your experience could become the light that guides someone else. And if you found today's video meaningful, I invite you to continue the journey with me. In our next video, we will explore a powerful combination of nutrition and natural techniques. Use these 5 foods and acupressure points to boost brain power. It is a practical guide to strengthen your memory and sharpen your focus, using tools that are gentle, safe, and effective for seniors. Protect your brain before it needs saving. Stay hopeful, stay curious, and remember, you are never alone on this path. Together, we are building stronger minds, one choice at a time.